Brought to you by JMR Rentals, jmrny.com. Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and today on the program, joining me here in the Rabbit Hole studio for the first time since forever, he is the founder of the Tonkawa Film Festival, Mr. James Oxford. Welcome back, James.
Thank you very much. Thank you for pronouncing Tonkawa correctly. Good job.
Now, the first time, so you were one of the early, I think you might have been the first Zoom interview that we did during the pandemic, because you had just done the festival. And by the skin of your teeth, you guys got out of there.
Yeah, we launched 1 week before shutdown.
So how has the festival evolved, and kind of like, how did it come to be in the first place, and what's happened since then?
Yeah. How it really got started was, my God, almost 10 years ago. We had a short film that we were touring around film festivals with, and my parents had attended one of those at a festival in Oklahoma. And it really just kind of spurred that idea of what would it be like to have a film festival back in my hometown in Oklahoma. And so there came a time about 5 years ago when my mother was on the Chamber of Commerce in Tonkawa, and we decided that might be a great time to have the Chamber kind of help us launch that event as an event through the Chamber. And so that's kind of how it got started. We just thought it would be something unique and interesting for the town. There was nothing like it. There was nothing really like it in the area. We definitely have film festivals in Oklahoma, but we're not anywhere near a large city. So we're hour and a half probably from the closest city that if you did want to attend a festival. So that's where we that's kind of where the idea started, and that's why we chose that time to kind of kick it off.
And then you guys, of course, you got hit with the pandemic. How did you manage that? Did you go virtual for a while, or like how did you figure it out?
No, we pure luck. We never missed a single year of the festival, so we're getting ready to have our 4th year of the festival. And like I said, when we were planning the first festival, it was, I believe, March 6th and 7th of 2020. And so when that festival was getting ready to happen, we were starting to hear the talk about, COVID, and there might be things that needed to start being adjusted, but we were able to go ahead and have the festival as is. And then within a week or two, everything started to shut down. We had also decided at that time that March wasn't a great time of year for us to have the festival in Oklahoma. So we're like, you know what, let's try a different time of the year. Let's shoot for May of the following year, so May of 2021. And so only based on time of year, assuming, like a lot of people at the time, this COVID thing will be over in like a month. So we weren't even thinking about that for the next year. So when the next year came around, March, April was when the vaccines started to become available. And so by the time May came around, all of the filmmakers that attended were able to get vaccinated. And so everybody kind of felt comfortable coming together again at that time. And keep in mind, this is a small festival. It's in a very small town. We're not talking about thousands of people crammed in a small space. So we were able to do that. And then the next year we moved it to April. And by then, nothing's normal yet, but, a semblance of normalcy had returned. People who wanted to take extra precautions had those available to them. And so that's why we were able to move forward. So like I said, we never went virtual. And because of the size of our festival and because we were so new, virtual wasn't really an option we were considering. We're like, we'll either be able to have it or we'll skip a year if we have to, because ours is the type of festival, attending it's really the biggest benefit you're getting. We're not going to make you famous. We're not going to change your filmmaking career. So that was something we took into consideration. So, really just pure luck.
When you first started, you were it was all shorts.
Correct.
Is it still all shorts, or are you guys including features?
No, it's still shorts.
Still shorts.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we're trying to be, in our minds, smart about the festival, in that we're growing it at a rate that the audience builds. So we don't want to extend it. Right now it's a 2-day festival. We don't want to extend that. And in order to really include features and then still have shorts in there and have time for it, you're probably going to have to at least go 3 or 4 days. And then 2, you're going to have an audience that's going to show up, which has always been important for us because filmmakers are always at the center of it. And we want them to have this experience that they feel like, oh, this was worth coming for. And so we want them to be in a theater full of people watching their film. We don't want it to be them and 2 other people watching their film. And so if you start to include a lot more films and you don't have the audience for it, you just spread it out. And so then you have such few people, and it changes the whole experience because, like I said, as filmmakers, we know what that's like. We know what it's like to set in an audience of, 200 or 300 people watching our film and what that feels like. And then we know what it's like to be us and 2 of our friends sitting in an empty theater watching our film, and it's just not the same. And so that's been important to us is that experience for the filmmaker, how that feels for them. So we definitely want to grow. We have plans to grow and expand, but not before we're ready.
For the filmmakers listening, what do you guys look for themes? Are there different categories that you do awards for? Like
we do have categories. We cover all the genres. We definitely put an emphasis on indigenous filmmakers. We put some emphasis on filmmakers that are definitely in the region, so Oklahoma and Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, New Mexico, and those areas. But outside of that, we want to see everything. So we love documentaries and animation, and so we have a mix of everything that you can think of. And that's what's important because the other side of this is we focus on the filmmakers, like I said, but then we also focus on the audience. And because this is a festival in my hometown where I grew up, I live in New York, but I grew up in a small farm town in Oklahoma. It's what I want them to see. I want to be like, here's the world that I've found out there moving around the country. This is the world I found. I want to bring it back to you. So there's these types of films that are not commercial. They're not in your everyday films. A lot of people don't watch documentaries, or a lot of people, when they think of animation, they think of cartoons for children. They don't think about that there are really amazing, heavy, hard-hitting dramas or thrillers or horror films or comedies in the animation world. And the various types of animation that exist. I've found myself falling really hard for the world of animation and that art form. It's amazing to me. So, yeah, we're open to any kind of film, 20 minutes or less. We don't have, obviously, we're a small festival, so we don't have premiere requirements. We don't have to be your world premiere. We're just looking for great films, and that's the other thing we're trying to do too is we want people who come and watch films here that they're like, this is a small town, this is a small festival, but this is a really high quality films that we're seeing. We're not focused on, hey, if it's made in Oklahoma, it's going to be in. It's not true. I'm in the process of choosing the films as we speak. It's a tough job. There's a lot of films that we're having to pass on that I love. I don't have enough time to show them all, and so it's a good position to be in. It's a good position to be in. I have too many films that I like and that we think would be a great fit for the festival, and we just can't fit them all in. So we have to narrow it down the best we can.
What was the response when you brought these films there for the first time, and have people kind of embraced the festival as like, oh, great, it's time for the film festival? Like,
yeah.
I know you did a parade the first year.
Yeah, we have one every year.
So, like, what was the town's response to it?
Yeah, the town's response was I wasn't quite sure what to expect, because when we started the festival, it had been 20 years since I had moved away, because I moved when I went to college, and then I hadn't moved back since then. So, a lot of the people I grew up around either were gone or, I just had been out of touch with. So it was interesting to go back because there were a lot of people that knew me and who had grown up with me, but there was a lot of people who did not know me. They knew my family. They didn't know me as a person because I'd been gone so long. So it was interesting to, the way we did it was I set up a meeting. I flew down to Oklahoma, and we set up a meeting with we have a junior college there, which is actually where the venue for the festival. And so we had the president of the college, and we had the mayor, and we had the Chamber of Commerce, and then just various people from different art organizations within the area. And I just kind of pitched to them. I'm like, if I were to do a film festival, this is how I would do it, and I kind of pitched to them, and most of them had never been to a film festival, did not know what they entailed. They had never heard of short films. They did not know that was even a thing that existed. And so, I was really selling this whole idea of something they just had no idea what to expect. The good news was, I guess I made a good pitch. And so they're like, you know what, it sounds good and we trust you, so let's go for it. So that was kind of the initial thing. And then the town kind of just jumped in gung-ho right off the bat. Everybody loved the idea. And we did go big right out of the gate, for what it was. Like you said, we had a parade because I knew that was something we had to make our festival unique. Again, there's the filmmakers and there's the audience. So when I go back to the filmmaker, I'm like, why do I want you to come all the way to the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, to attend this film festival? What is my incentive to you? There are not people here looking to buy your film and sell it. There's not people... there's not a massive audience, so why would you come? And so I was like, I'm going to give you this really unique, amazing experience. And I think that's the other thing that the town really got excited about, was that all these filmmakers were going to be coming from all parts of the country. And they did. I wasn't really sure what the response would be from filmmakers, but in that very first year, they were from L.A. and they were from New York City and they were from Florida and Texas, of course, and then the Midwest. And so we just had all these amazing people, and they were all just the most lovely, amazing people that you've ever met, these filmmakers, and the town just fell in love with them. And so every year everybody knows it's going on, and every year that gets bigger and bigger, that more and more people know about it. They're talking about it months in advance. Everybody wants to be involved. How do we, how do we help? And so that's been exciting. What was funny was when we had the second year's festival, the town realized, it clicked in their mind. They're like, oh, wait, it's going to be a whole different group of filmmakers, because they had fallen in love with this first group that came that first year. And they're like, oh, they're all going to come back again. It's like, oh, no, these are all new films, all new filmmakers. And so it's been fun. It's been fun to see how much the town has embraced it. They've absolutely loved it, and the filmmakers have seemed to have loved the festival itself. So it's been a great love.
What's crazy is that, South by wasn't a thing until it was a thing.
Yeah.
Sundance wasn't a thing until it was a thing. No film festival. It's one thing that, because we cover a lot of this stuff in New York City.
Yeah.
Which, people come here just because it's New York, and you see people from L.A., but then, you also, in the business, so to speak, but then you also get somebody from, East Jesus, South Carolina, who's just like, oh, my God, I got my film into this film festival, because now you don't have to live in a major city to make films.
Right.
So, one of the reasons that I want to have people like you on the show is that, we do have an audience of filmmakers, but we also have an entertainment audience. And it's like, you don't have to be in New York, L.A., Chicago to get this stuff. Right. And now, because of the internet and because of the mass availability of information, you can kind of do this anywhere. Like, all you need is a place where you can get butts and seats on a big screen.
Yep.
Yeah. My first festival that I got into was in, Houston, Texas. Never been to Houston, Texas before.
Yeah.
They'd never met anybody from Brooklyn before. And it was like a love affair. Like, people, I made friends, and people I would never, I never would have even thought to, be in my circle, or, even thought, oh, these guys, because, New Yorkers are kind of ethnocentric, and we think that New York is the center of the world.
Right.
So, it's like, oh, you're not in New York, but you still exist. It's amazing.
If it makes you feel better, I think every town thinks that.
But,
just on a bigger scale.
I just feel like, New Yorkers think that New York is like the world, and then there's everything else that orbits us. For this year, because you're going up, it's April 15th and 16th this year?
14th and 15th.
April 14th and 15th.
Yep.
What can audiences expect to see?
Like I said, the quality is, or I want to say the average quality of the films just gets better and better every year. We're definitely seeing a lot of, art always imitates life, and so that's what's always interesting about screening all these films when we get them each year, is you can tell that there's a subject matter that is very relevant to what's going on in the world today. So we're seeing a lot of films around immigration and the things that are happening there and how those things are affecting people in different ways. So you're going to see things about that kind of subject matter. We've gotten some, and I've already gone on about it, but we've have some really amazing animation this year. And then another category that we actually added, we had music videos in the past, but we didn't have a category for them. So this year we actually opened up and have a special category just for music videos, which is I think fun because it is another way to tell a story. We think about the music aspect of it, but then there's the visuals. Music videos have been around for decades now, but they can be a very artistic way to tell a story with music combined with the visuals. How those visuals interpret that song, it's really interesting. It's an interesting art form, and it's also great to see those stories from other countries because after the first year, maybe the first 2 years it was just domestic. Now we do international films as well, and so those have been well received. So you're definitely going to see some more great documentaries from around the world, comedies, drama, horror. So yeah.
Have people from other countries showed up yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So,
that's something you're looking forward to.
That's what I'm looking forward to. So last year...
You're going to have to rename it Tonkawa International Film Festival.
I know, but then I'd be TIFF. I figured I'd just confuse everybody.
If people confuse you for the other one, maybe you'll get more submissions.
I might, but they're going to be really angry when they show up. They're like, it is a lot hotter here.
This is not Canada.
And smaller than we thought this was
But there's also isn't it Telluride the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a popular acronym.
Yeah.
What do you have planned, because this is year number 3 for year number 4 for you.
Yeah.
So what do you see kind of coming down the road? Where would you like to end up in, 5 years, 10 years if it keeps going?
I think with the festival because it is growing, and we're seeing a lot of its reputation's growing. That's what's really I think great about the festival, because the festival hasn't outgrown itself yet. It's not that the festival itself is too big, but people's awareness that it exists is growing, and so we're starting to get a lot. Even the state government. I've had people reach out to me and be like, "Oh, we've been hearing about your festival." So, like the tourism board have reached out, and a lot of people just from around the country. Because I could tell that the submissions we were getting were from people that we were actively going out, being like, "Please submit to our festival. Please submit to our festival." That percentage is becoming smaller and smaller, and you're getting more and more people that are, I don't know them, I didn't ask them to submit, they found us on their own. So that's a really good thing. And then there's other things that I can't necessarily talk about yet, but there are things and conversations I've had recently that have led me to believe that it's definitely gaining a great reputation. So because of that, there's things that we want to do as far as we're actually looking at forming a film commission in Tonkawa to actually start to encourage filmmaking in this town and in the area, because there's a lot of films that really are based in small rural communities, and because we have a town that's already kind of excited about this world and what's going on, they're ready, like, come to Tonkawa and we'll we have so many kind of just various cool locations and things. So we're starting to put that together. We're looking at starting to do a scholarship program for people who are wanting to go into film. Someone like me, when I grew up there, would have never known that was a thing that people do in real life. And so we're starting to look at scholarship programs, and then just outside of that, just grow it. Get it to the point where we have panels, get it to the point where we have special speakers come and special guests come to the festival. And so I think we're on the cusp of that, to be honest. I think we're getting really close. I think some big things are going to happen in the next couple of years.
That sounds awesome. Like I said, none of these film festivals that are huge now started out that way.
Right.
And the fact that you're getting ground buzz, I remember years ago I was at IFC, what they call it the Gotham now.
Yeah.
And there were people from different film commissions around. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Mississippi was there or someplace like that. And I was like, people make, yeah, I guess you can make. And now you're seeing more movies like in Louisiana, and of course Georgia's huge now. It's like a second Hollywood, basically. Do you feel like the local talent you're seeing? I mean, from when you grew up there, like it's like when they first started Sundance. You know, they were and the independent movies started out in the '90s. The quality of the films wasn't that great.
Right.
You know, now to get into these festivals with like an indie short, you have to have like a movie star in it. You know, to get just to get in there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've seen the quality of films come up from from people in and around the area?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that I'm seeing it. Them grow. I mean, there's definitely filmmakers that we met in the very beginning that are continuing to make films, and you're seeing that quality grow. And I think that's a natural progression with a filmmaker. We learn the lessons and hopefully get better. One of the things that I've also loved about the festival was that we have had filmmakers who, some were from Texas and some were from Oklahoma, and they've all kind of teamed up. They met each other at our film festival, and they're continuing to make films and collaborate with each other, which I think is fantastic, and that helps them grow as filmmakers as well. Because, I mean, this topic's been talked about, you know, a million times, but we really are in that world where, to your point, you can live anywhere. Two, the technology is just not as expensive it used to be. There was such a barrier of money that very few people could overcome.
It was cost prohibitive.
Yeah, very cost prohibitive. And so those things have kind of gone away, and it really is just about how creative can you be, how resourceful can you be, and how big do you want to go. And also being able to I want to say self-aware. And I do this myself when it comes to putting on a film festival. You know, I didn't go in and say, let's have a week-long film festival and let's have features and shorts and a screenplay contest. I could have done all that, and some people try that. I knew that, for me, was not the smart way to go, and it's the same way with filmmaking. Know what you're capable of in the moment that you're in, and do that. And then as you grow, what you're capable of and what you're able to do will grow as well, and then you can tackle those bigger projects. Because I think that it's easy to get discouraged with anything that you take on if you take on too much and you fail or don't reach the goal you had set for yourself. So set a realistic goal and just knock it out of the park.
That's the kind of the beauty of short film fests, because you can pack a lot of movies in. You know, I always tell people that, you know, if your movie is 20 minutes, that's probably the kiss of death length. You should, I mean, and if you're just starting out, like 5 and under, you know, like keep it short, keep it simple, you know, make it with what you got, and then, you know, you can get bigger and bigger as you go. But like you said, you know, I do find like sometimes you see shorts and they're like, oh my God, you know, there's a helicopter shot in it. And there's like big production values, or, you know, maybe they've got a name or two in the movie, but that all comes with time. You know, every time they go, oh, this guy, you know, it's Richard Linklater's first feature. It's like, well, you know, he had made a bunch of 8mm shorts and a bunch of, you know, like 16mm stuff before he graduated to the point where he was making, you know, like Slacker,
right,
or something like that. Speaking of Texas,
yes,
you know, in that area. But like, I think little fests like this, and it's probably a nicer experience. It's not so industry focused, you know, like some stuff here. Oklahoma's a pretty big state. I don't know how many, like, I don't know if there's a robust film community in Oklahoma City or someplace like that.
Only now. I mean, so they've opened up a new soundstage called Prairie Surf Media in Oklahoma City. And it's grown quite a bit. So they just filmed the first season of Tulsa King, starring Sylvester Stallone, in Oklahoma. And so the film industry has actually picked up a lot in just the last couple years in Oklahoma. So they really are, and they have a really good tax incentive. It's very competitive with a lot of states, and it has a very low threshold. So a lot of these states, they'll have tax credits, but you have to spend an insane amount of money to reach the threshold to even qualify for it. Oklahoma's is relatively low in comparison. So it has a very diverse terrain. So we have deserts, and we have mountains, and we have lakes and rivers, and pretty much anything you can think of within reason. We don't have oceanfront property, and we don't have snowy peaks. But outside of that, we have a little bit of everything else. So it is an interesting place, and it is starting to grow. it has a long ways to go. But yeah.
Well, if you get in early, that's probably the best time to go.
Yeah,
before it becomes the next Sundance, or before it becomes this huge before it becomes Atlanta kind of thing.
Yep.
All right, man. I got to wrap up,
Okay.
but for people who want to find out more information, where can they find you guys online?
The easiest thing is just to go to tonkawafilmfestival.com. We're on all the socials. It's usually Tonkawa Film is on most of the socials, but the website's the easiest place to start. Submissions are already open for next year, so they are closed for this year because we're making selections as we speak, but next year's are already open. So again, short films anywhere in the world, 20 minutes and under.
And that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank my guest, James Oxford, and our sponsor, JMR Rentals. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.